Have you ever bought something, could be almost anything really, and then bought it all over again because of some supposed improvement? You know, we live in a world in which we very regularly replace our possessions with newer versions of the same possessions. Not necessarily because they're old or broken or worn out. We just want the newest, latest thing. Wait, the selfie camera on that phone has an extra megapixel? Gimme! That washer-dryer combo comes in orange? That would look great in my utility room. Wait, that HD TV has a curved screen? I need it. I really do. I need it. We're never happy with what we have, even when what we have works just fine. We're a society of pathological upgraders. Cell phones, computers, appliances, cars, spouses.
Hey.
Honey, come on. I didn't mean you.
Uh-huh.
That's Teresa, who apparently has no problem jumping in while I'm recording.
Whatever.
Anyway, it's like we're caught in an infinite consumerism loop, and we're too dazzled by all the tech and the bells and the whistles to care. In fact, we line up voluntarily to hand over our money. It's like Tyler Durden says in Fight Club, the things you own end up owning you. This even extends to home video. I mean, how many times have you bought a movie that you love only to buy it again, then again, and yet again, because they found a way to improve the picture slightly, or they added new bonus features, or they made it into 3D after the fact, or they George Lucas did all to hell with new special effects. It's all madness. This is the plight of the home video enthusiast. It's a real problem. I mean, it's a first world problem, but still, it's almost a sickness, this obsessive compulsion to buy and rebuy the same movies again and again. Now, I don't know if there's a medical term for it, but I call it VideOCD. They say the first step in getting better is to admit you have a problem. So, here goes. Hi, my name is Craig, and I have VideOCD. Wow. You know, just saying it out loud, just putting it out there, I feel better already. Wow. So hey kids, welcome back to Between Light and Shadow, a Twilight Zone podcast. Okay, so last time I described my very first encounter with the Twilight Zone and how I started tape recording it because we didn't have a VCR. What I didn't go into is what happened when we did finally get one and how it would eventually lead to my crippling affliction. It's so embarrassing. In the fall of 1985, I was a sophomore in high school. I wasn't tape recording the Twilight Zone anymore because KPDX had stopped showing it at some point. So the only zone I was getting was Twilight Zone magazine, and that only came out every other month. So it was only natural that my attention would migrate over to other, more age-appropriate interests, namely music and girls. Oh, and boobs. I guess those technically fall under girls, but my interest in them was strong enough to deserve its own separate category. It still is, actually. But deep down, under all that music and under all those boobs, I quietly lamented the fact that my beloved zone was out of reach. Remember, kids, you couldn't buy them or stream them or borrow them from the library or pirate them or anything at that time. Now, we did have a VCR by then, but what good was it? And then out of nowhere, Twilight Zone was back on. 6 nights a week, this time on a different channel. KPTV-12, which was another local station here in Portland. Now, oddly enough, the first one they showed was episode 25, People Are Alike All Over. And then they went in pretty much sequential order from there. But whatever order they showed them in didn't matter. What did matter is the fact that I now had the means to capture it proper. I gave myself a crash course in programming the VCR timer, which was tricky as hell. See, kids, we didn't have DVRs with on-screen guides where you just find a show you want and hit a button to record it, and it remembers to record it every time a new episode comes on. Back then, we had to tell the VCR what channel to record, what time to record, how long to record, what speed to record at. And then you had to redo that from scratch every time, even if you were recording the same exact show at the same exact time every day. Later, VCRs kind of improved in this area, but the early models didn't have anything approximating a set it and forget it mode. Now, the problem with older shows in syndication is they've usually been shortened to fit more commercials. So each Twilight Zone I recorded was usually missing like 2 or 3 minutes. And it was really sloppily done. And you could always tell right where they chopped something out. It was usually the first couple of minutes of Act 1. So you'd do the prologue, you'd cut to commercial, and then you'd come back right in the middle of a scene. Confusing? Sure. Bullshit? Definitely. And they were all scratched up, beat up syndication prints, so they didn't look or sound great. And compounding this was my stupid tendency to use the SLP speed when I recorded them. Now, this let you fit 6 hours onto a 2-hour tape, but the trade-off was you took a huge hit in quality. That was also known as EP, or extended play. For you young'uns who never knew the pleasures and pitfalls of analog video, you look a little confused. Okay. You know when you torrent a movie and it's been compressed down to like 500 megabytes and it looks like shit? It was kind of like that. Now, by mid-1987, I'd recorded the entire series, except for the 5 episodes that weren't part of the syndication package at that time. We call them the Lost 5 around here. But my collection was as complete as it could be at the time. And then I was done forever, right? Yeah, I collected the entire series on VHS all over again, thanks to Columbia House. Now, what's Columbia House, you ask? Well, kids, it was a company that sold records and tapes in a subscription-type deal. You'd get like 8 records for a penny, then you'd have to buy X number of records at full price within 3 years. Now, when home video really took off, they also started selling VHS tapes too, including the entire run of The Twilight Zone, including the Lost 5 episodes. So you got the first tape for $4.99 plus shipping. Then they'd mail you the next volume every 4 to 6 weeks, and if you didn't want it, you would just send it back and you would just pay the shipping. But if you kept it, you would pay $19.95 plus shipping. And I think at some point they might have raised it to $24.95 plus shipping. Now me, I never sent any of them back. In fact, I called them to request a master list of their entire collection, which they sent me. And then I commenced ordering additional volumes in between the regular shipments. I'm not sure at this late date how I possibly afforded this, but somehow I did, and I eventually had the entire collection, 43 videotapes. And then my home-taped collection was officially
obsolete.
The upgrade made sense since the Columbia House tapes featured the episodes uncut, and they looked and sounded way better than my home jobs. And they also came in these really neat clamshell cases with these really cool gatefold covers with commentary about each episode, written by Mark Scott Zickery, who wrote the Twilight Zone Companion, which was basically like my Bible in the early days of my Twilight Zone obsession. The Columbia House set was like a Cadillac compared to my home recordings, which suddenly kind of looked like a beat-up Ford Pinto by comparison. The sight of them all lined up on the shelf, It looked kind of like an encyclopedia set. Very impressive, almost scholarly. I remember a real feeling of accomplishment, of completion, when that final 43rd Columbia House tape arrived in the mail. And with that, my Twilight Zone needs would forever be fulfilled. And then DVD came along. Now, actually, DVD was a good thing. It was a real good thing. Remember how much clearer the picture was? Remember not having to be kind and rewind anymore? And they were so much thinner than VHS, which meant you could buy more movies and use less space. That's a win-win, right? Anyway, there were a total of 45 separate DVD volumes, and I bought every last one of them, which rendered my beautiful Columbia House collection
obsolete.
I sold most of those tapes to some guy in Australia for way less than I paid. Third time's a charm, right? Now that I had the series on high-quality, durable optical discs that wouldn't warp or disintegrate over time, I'd never need to... Well, hell, then they went and released new quote-unquote definitive edition DVD sets based off of new high-definition transfers and a veritable shitload of bonus features. There were 5 box sets, one for each of the show's 5 seasons. And yes, I bought them all. My 45-volume DVD collection,
Obsolete.
I sold that on eBay for, again, way less than I paid. Now, I've bought and sold other DVDs over the years and actually made money, but not with the Twilight Zone. It's always been a strictly non-profit deal. But anyway, those definitive DVD sets were the best it could ever get, right? Wrong. Suddenly there was this new format, Blu-ray, and the series got released yet again, this time in high definition with even more bonus features. Did I bite? What do you think? But this time I kept those definitive DVD sets. They're really beautiful, even if they are technically
obsolete.
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 But you know what? They really aren't obsolete. DVD is still the most prevalent physical format, even now, and not everybody has a Blu-ray player. They're still releasing and re-releasing the show on DVD. I just saw a thing the other day that they're putting out yet another complete series DVD set on October 11th. But I don't need it. For my purposes, the Blu-rays are the bee's knees and the cat's pajamas. So for me, everything else is
Obsolete.
Now, your mileage may vary, of course, but you can get them pretty cheap now. I'm just saying. You all have HD TVs. Don't you want to maximize your viewing pleasure? In any case, now I'm set for life, right? I will never need to buy the Twilight Zone on home video again. Right? Well, suddenly 1080p is not the highest resolution out there. We now have this thing called 4K. It's still pretty new, so there's not a whole lot of 4K content yet, but even if this thing blows up huge, I can't imagine it'll mean we'll get a physical release of the Twilight Zone in 4K. I mean, plus all the streaming going on, what with the Netflix and the Hulu and the Amazon and whatever else, physical media's days might be numbered. I'm fairly confident that the Blu-rays are the absolute pinnacle, the zenith, as it were. The best it's ever gonna get. And even if it's not, well, shit, my eyes aren't getting any better as I get older. I am this close to wearing bifocals, so Blu-rays more than good enough. But would I upgrade again, given the chance? If I'm being perfectly honest, yeah. God damn it. Yeah. It never ends. I'm the Twilight Zone's bitch. Same goes for the Universal Monsters. And speaking of, there are these new Blu-ray collections coming out next week for Frankenstein and the Wolfman. Now, I've bought those 3 different times on DVD. And yeah, I'll get the Blu-rays too. I just gotta. Damn this video CD. So next week, I will be talking about my blog, My Life in the Shadow of the Twilight Zone. How it started, why it started, how many lives it cost to keep it afloat, etc. Now, if you've never seen it, and you want to familiarize yourself with the material before next week, well, it's easy to find. Just Google My Life in the Shadow of the Twilight Zone. And voila. And if you haven't checked us out on Facebook yet, just do a search for @ZonePod, and you'll find us. That's ZONEPOD. Like, share, leave a comment, whatever. You can also email us directly at zonepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and remember, kids, play nice.
Between light and shadow.